Alright, what's going on, guys? It's Mooncat. I'm doing my first supervive guide, and it's on Shrike, which is my main character. I'm making this guide for two reasons. One, obviously, is to teach you how I think you're supposed to play Shrike. At least in my opinion, it might be pretty subjective. You're allowed to disagree, you know what I'm saying? But this is how I play Shrike, and I think this is like how you should play Shrike, you know what I'm saying? And two, I just love this game so much. I am so passionate about this game, and I want it to succeed, and I want people to play the game. And I feel like a way to get people excited to play the game is through making videos and guides and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So I'm doing my due diligence as someone who wants this game to succeed. I'm gonna put in, put more content out there on the game. So hopefully more people will see it and more people will play it. Hey, anyways, back to the guide. I'm not gonna go over builds very much in this video. I think that the game is still pretty new, and I think if I talk anything about builds, that it's going to become dated in like 3 weeks. So I'm going to stay away from talking about builds. There are a couple item interactions maybe I'll go over if thing, but I'm not gonna sit here and tell you what to build. This is going to be more about the play style and more like mechanics, I guess, that you should be doing on Shrike to find success. Okay, starting with Shrike's auto attacks, right? This is her main source of damage, basically your only source of damage. You shoot a shot, it's really slow. When you shoot, every single person can see this like aiming laser. You see that? This green laser, so they can see where you're aiming, how far your aim is, and then this blue bar above your armor, they see that as well. So they also know exactly when your shot's coming out. And then the last thing, Shrike's attacks actually scale with distance. In fact, they scale down with distance. They don't scale up with distance. And on my targeter, you'll notice this like little gray star. If the enemies are closer to you than this star, the damage starts to scale down as they get closer. So you actually want to be fighting people in like this area, not in this area. So you get a lot of value from actually spacing your enemies and not playing shotgun Shrike. If you end up reducing your attack range, it doesn't actually bring that midpoint down like you would think, because it's like a percentage. It actually, you'll notice it just makes the range part shorter. So you'll still have the same amount of damage scaled down, but you have a little bit less of range to work with. I'm sure you've heard other people say this. You need to conceal where you're aiming. So if I'm trying to fight this person, like imagine they're actually trying to dodge me. If I'm just like showing them that I'm gonna hit them, they're gonna be sidestepping me. It's gonna be much harder to. So the idea is you want to sort of hide your weapon, right? You'll see a lot of Shrikes do this, like kind of looking away and then flicking. And that's fine. The thing I do, which I'm not the only person to do this, I didn't invent it, right? But I actually think there's a lot more value in spinning like this, doing like the 360s and then aiming, just because of the fact that when you look, you get vision, right? So I personally have a lot of problem with like doing it like this. Out of vision. Obviously, if you hit your first shot, you gain vision of like your marked enemy, right? Like I can still kind of see them, right? If I'm in range. I guess if you walk out of your auto range, it goes away. But if you're in the range, it like stays for a bit, you know? But when you spin like this, you basically see everything. So I think this is how I would recommend you to be shooting on Shrike. It allows you to switch targets easier too, in my opinion, because you kind of, at least for me, you get the muscle memory a little bit of where your mouse is looking. So if I have someone here that I'm shooting and someone appears here and I'm like spinning like this, I already know what it feels like in my hand to like aim here, you know what I mean? So if they just appear, it's not that bad to flick to them as much as it is like doing it like this, in my opinion. Okay, so her passive, when you shoot your first bullet, it doesn't do that much damage. It's like, okay, I guess. But what it does is mark them. So most of Shrike's damage, basically all of it, is going to come from detonating these marks, which is when you hit them again when they're marked. But you see I marked them, and it does like pretty like okay damage, like 600 almost, and then that does like double, right? So that's how Shrike gets her damage. So it's really important in a team fight that you hit the same person more than once. You know what I mean? Especially if you land one shot on their healer, like, you gotta try your hardest to hit that shot again and not have it be body blocked. Her right click is pretty simple. It's just like it applies like a circle on the ground that explodes after a delay, and you get stunned, and with like a little bit of a knockback as well. And then if you hit wisps, it just like does wisp damage. Like, the thing you have to know about this is the knockback, actually. A lot of the times you're gonna throw it, and you see how she gets displaced a little bit? It's pretty easy. If you're trying to proc your mark, like you shoot this, you hit this, and you try to shoot again, you miss. right? So you kind of have to know which direction they're going to get knocked in to proc your mark off the stun like that. So that's just something you have to keep in mind. Okay, but this ability right here, this is like the crux of the whole video. This is like why I love Shrike so much, is this ability. People will say it's bad because it casts with a delay, and that's kind of true. But the key here is that it resets when you get a knock. Okay, that's really important. The fact that it resets when you get a knock. And additionally, if you get it to level 4, it resets on projectile hit. So you'll notice if I hit this bot, insta reset, so I can come back. You know what I mean? Or if I'm getting chased by like a melee character, like a brawl is trying to get on me, you know what I mean? I hit this, you can just get out, you know? Okay, and the other thing to note about the disengage is it will still cast even if you use one of your other abilities. So I can like do this, can do this, and with your autos is like the biggest thing is if you start casting your auto, which has a delay, you can shift and your auto will still go even though you're dashing. You understand? Same thing with R actually too. If you cast R, you can dash and get way more range on your R, right? If someone's fleeing you, if they're out of your range and they're like over the abyss, you know? Look at how far you can actually shoot. This is pretty crazy. Okay, this ability throws out a bird and it applies anti-heal and you get to see stuff and you can activate it early. If you just need to see around a corner, now you get all this vision and anything in here at the time that this bird appears gets anti-heal. It's not bad. And then her R is just one big mega shot that does the same thing as your autos, where it'll either apply or explode the mark. It goes really far, it has a longer windup than your autos, and it can go through walls as well. You'll see now if that hit. Okay, it didn't hit. Hold up. So mark is applied there. And then your ult can also detonate the mark. See. Not much to talk about the R, it's a pretty basic skill. I would say don't be stingy with it. If you hit your passive on like a critical target, you can just R them, honestly. Like just straight up. Especially a Hudson, right? A Hudson's like pretty annoying to try and fight sometimes if you don't have your range glove. So if you hit this, just R him, bro. Honestly, he'll get low enough that he's kind of scared, and then you can honestly like go in for the finish and stuff. But the reset on the knock, honestly, is the biggest part for me. Like we talked about the passive, this does a lot of damage. Like this is the damage that like people in low elo complain about. So you want to capitalize on that. You know what I mean? And the way that you should be capitalizing on that, in my opinion, is playing super aggressive with these angles. It's gonna take practice, but if you hit this mark on a healer, let's say your teammates already chipped them down a bit. And like you know, if you proc this, they're gonna die. I think in this game, numbers advantage is like pretty big. Obviously, you can kind of outskill anything. You know, you can solo squads and whatever. But generally, if everyone's on the same skill level, I think numbers advantage is huge, especially if it's like the healer, right? So if you land a hit on this healer, we're pretending this is a healer, not a Shrike. And if one more bullet, if you proc this passive, they die. In my opinion, I think you have to go for that kill. I don't think you should do this and like melee their whole team, but you should find angles because you know that they're going to try and dodge you, right? Because they know they're going to die too. So they're going to be looking for ways to dodge your bullets. And in my opinion, the best way to proc that passive is through like some sort of movement that they're not like expecting, or is like a lot harder to read. Right? And because the knock resets, it doesn't on the bot for whatever reason. Like this bot doesn't reset my dash, but hold on, I can show you over here. Okay, so imagine this is like a critical target in a fight that needs to like die, right? If you end up hitting your mark and one more shot kills them, you can hit like some unpredictable, obviously he didn't die there. You see how my dash reset? So you can hit some really hard to dodge shots to proc that mark. And assuming he died, right? Instantly, after you do that movement, like this, you go back and you're up a team. So they either have to run and give up the wisp, or they fight you and you die. Not you die, they die, right? Ideally. So I think that's how you should play Shrike. And obviously, if the other teammates are low, you can just keep going, right? Like you could literally, boom, like kill someone, hit your mark again, boom, and kill him again. And like your repositioning is like really hard to punish, in my opinion, as long as you can hit your shots.
Storm is on the move.
I think it's fucking expensive.
That I think is the highest skill ceiling thing about Shrike is being consistent with actually like hitting your shots, especially these ones, and especially with your R as well, hitting these long shots. You can max dive bomb if you're into that. I don't know if it's that good. This is really good, and I actually think this is slept on. I think the vision is really strong in this game, and the anti-heal is just like annoying. You know, to have 8 seconds of anti-heal, especially with the amount of healers that are in the full version of the game now as compared to the beta. As they add more healers, I think they have an alchemist on the way who has heals. This skill becomes more valuable, so I wouldn't sleep on getting this to 4, honestly. Like, try it out, see how it is, because honestly, it's kind of hard to hit this projectile, especially if you're trying to be aggressive and use it not for disengage. I know it's literally called disengage, but I feel like you should just engage with it, you know? So you're not really hitting people who are behind you. So this can be really good just for util and just spotting the enemies that you need to go in to hit your shots on, you know? And then the last thing I wanted to talk about with Shrike is your camera settings. I low-key kind of switch back and forth between fully dynamic and standard dynamic, but I actually think this standard configuration is my favorite so far. So the reason I chose these settings is with fully dynamic, if I'm spinning like this, my camera also is like doing this. And that's like really hard to hit my shots with, right? When the target I'm trying to hit is literally doing circles, it's pretty hard to hit. And then these specific dead zone and max zone for me, like I'll take all these settings. The reason I like it is because if I want my cursor to be in between me and my target, or if they're just like close to me, right? Like for melee, I feel like it's a lot easier to hit my shot when my camera doesn't move. And then as soon as my mouse gets like this far, I'm at my max. So my camera's like not shaking again. So I can sort of aim without disruption, you know? Kind of want to avoid like this. At least just for me personally, it just makes it a lot harder to hit. So I want my camera kind of to be as still as possible for when I'm aiming. So you could give that a try and see if you like that. But I have been known to use this as well. Sometimes it just feels a lot like more snappy and responsive. So it's kind of up to you. Just make sure if you use these settings, make sure you have quadratic movement on, or else your camera moves a lot more like this. Yeah. So put this on, and then it'll be more still here and more still out here, and then you will have a little bit of wiggle in this like middle room, but I don't think it's too bad. And then the last tip I have for this video: when you're playing Shrike, it's gonna be so hard to not jump around while you're shooting people, but you really have to put an emphasis on keeping your feet planted so that you can dodge. Especially if you're 1v1ing another Shrike, you will always win against the Shrike who's jumping like this versus you on the ground who can still juke, you know? So just keep that in mind. Really try and be disciplined about your spacebar. If you watch my montages, I'm jumping all the time and it's bad, right? I'm trying to break the habit. So if you can, keep your feet planted and try to dodge as much as possible. Dodging is super, super valuable in this game because your health bar is everything, right? And sometimes it's worth it to not even shoot at all and just focus on your movement to dodge something critical that you have to dodge before you get back into attacking. Alright, and that's about it for this guide. Let me know if this was helpful. If you've been following me for a long time, you probably know that I used to make videos like this same kind of style in Rocket League. Rocket League's kind of... Listen, we don't have to talk about the state of Rocket League right now, okay? We're talking about supervive. But if you enjoy this kind of video, please let me know. I would love to make more like this. If anything changes about Shrike or the game that I feel like I need to make another guide or a tips video, I'm more than happy to do that. If you watched this far, dude, you are a real one. Like, genuinely, like, I appreciate that so much if you stayed through this whole video and watched it this far. But yeah, that's it. I hope this helped. I hope you climb ranked. Let's all hit Legend, Master, Supersonic Legend, Challenger rank together, okay? Alright, I'll see you guys in the next one.